Hey Canucks fans, newly acquired center Jason Dickinson has filed for a salary arbitration. Now I know salary arbitration, it sounds formal, it sounds even a little bit scary, but it's not that bad. It's not as uncommon as one might think, and it's a mechanism that's put there for players and actually for teams when they need help basically in negotiating the next contract. So if you hear it, don't be freaked out. This is normal course of business. 25 to 30 players filed for salary arbitration last season, and only one case, Tyler Bertuzzi of Detroit, only one case actually made it to the arbitration hearing. The other cases were all settled before the hearing date. So I think if you look at those type of percentages, let's not worry. And even if it gets to arbitration, it's not that bad either. So let's talk about why and how first, and then let's talk about Jason Dickinson himself. Salary arbitration is available for restricted free agents, not UFAs, unrestricted free agents, because UFAs can simply decide how much they want to sign for and with what team. But with RFAs, generally RFAs are, they don't have the same rights, the same freedoms as an unrestricted free agent, hence the name unrestricted versus restricted. So this is one of the mechanisms put in place to help teams and players agree to contracts. You guys remember, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago, every restricted free agent that the Canucks want to keep, they have to extend a qualifying offer to them. And that was guys like Pettersson, Hughes, Dickinson, Juolevi, Justin Bailey, so on and so forth. But at that time, the Canucks also chose not to qualify some guys, Mark Michaelis, Jake Kiley, to name a couple. So that's the first thing, is the team has to decide who they're going to qualify, which restricted free agents they're going to qualify or not. That becomes the first kind of offer. Then, of course, players and teams are able to negotiate new contracts. But a restricted free agent, if they want to put a tiny bit of pressure on the team, they can also file for salary arbitration. And that deadline was today for the NHL. So Jason Dickinson is one of the Vancouver Canucks that did it. Pettersson didn't do it. Hughes didn't do it because we know negotiations are ongoing. Juolevi didn't do it because he really doesn't have much bargaining power. So Jason Dickinson, no surprise that he indeed filed. And now the league will set a date. And then once they get to that date, if there's an arbitration hearing, it could be healing, Jason Dickinson and his people would bring some numbers and some stats and say, this is the number we think Dickinson should get paid. And then the Canucks will bring their people, their stats, and say, this is the number that we think Dickinson should get paid. And then an independent arbitrator will decide. Once the arbitrator decides a 1 or 2 year deal, usually a 1 year deal, but it could be a 2 year deal, then they both get to, because Dickinson's deal is going to be under $4.5 million, the teams are basically bound to this agreement. If the contract is for more than $4.5 million a year, then I believe that the team has the option to walk away from it. But Jason Dickinson's contract won't be $4.5 million a year. So I think it's safe to say that if it gets a salary arbitration, that the ruling is binding, usually a 1 year contract that the NHL will set, and then both Dickinson and the Canucks have to agree with it. And then they worry about what happens next year. However, like I said, 95% of the time, the team and the player will come to agreement before the salary arbitration hearing. That's why we rarely hear about arbitration hearings. So that's the first thing I want to say is, although we hear it, salary arbitration, it's not a scary thing. It's a proper mechanism. It's a working mechanism. But like I said, only one arbitration hearing actually made it to fruition last season. Let's talk about Jason Dickinson himself. We traded for him on July 17th. I remember because it was Saturday and I just came out of bowling, and we only gave up a third rounder in this year's draft for him. So a decent trade for the Vancouver Canucks for sure. And if you remember, it actually started this crazy offseason for the Canucks, because shortly after that, it became expansion roster freeze, expansion draft, NHL draft, free agency. So just 2 days after Dickinson, it was Ekman Larsson and Garland coming to the Canucks in that massive trade. So it basically set off the Canucks preseason. The Canucks off season. So in Dickinson, we get a solid third line center, and we don't have to go through all of his attributes. We've done that many times before. But the big thing we want to know about Dickinson is his contract. He's coming off a 2 year contract that paid him $1.5 million a year. 1.5. We've heard numbers that he probably is going to go after 2.5 to 3 million from the Canucks. So that's 2.5 to 3 million, which is completely reasonable for Jason Dickinson. So 2.5 to 3 million is likely what he's going to be looking for. Maybe the Canucks didn't offer him that much yet. Maybe the Canucks haven't offered him anything because they seem so busy, focused on expansion, protection, NHL free agency, NHL entry draft, trades. It would not surprise me if they basically said to Dickinson, file for arbitration, and then we can negotiate in August. And again, I want to stress that so much, that just because they filed for arbitration doesn't mean the two sides have to stop talking. In fact, this is usually an impetus, a catalyst to get them talking even more seriously. And the Canucks still have to come up with the contracts for Pettersson and Hughes, Julevi maybe, and Jason Dickinson. Those are the four, not five. Those are the four that I always talk about. So I fully predict that the Canucks and Jason Dickinson will come to an agreement sometime this month before the arbitration hearing, but we'll hear about a date being set because to apply a little pressure, and so you know what's going on. But let's look at last year. Jake Virtanen, same situation, 4 or 5 years in the league, restricted free agent still, and then he filed for arbitration, and then they set a date, but then the Canucks and Jake Virtanen agreed on a 2-year deal prior to that arbitration date, and the arbitration hearing goes out the window. Now, it's unfortunate how the Jake Virtanen saga turned out here. He got bought out last week, but that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is another further illustration that usually player and team come up with an agreement before the arbitration date. So the news, yes, Jason Dickinson files for arbitration. What do I expect to happen? I expect the Canucks and Dickinson to come up with a contract, an agreement. And one thing, the arbitrator will award a 1-year contract, whereas the team, obviously, if they come up with a deal with Dickinson, they can negotiate for as long as they want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years if they want. So look for that to happen. I expect long-term at a number between $2.5 and $3 million, at least longer than 1 year. So there we go, Canucks fans. A bit about salary arbitration. So let's not freak out. Let's just kind of watch the process and see what happens. Don't forget, tonight, it's my live stream at 10:30 p.m. Usually 10, but we're doing 10:30 p.m. this week because I have a dinner to go to downtown celebrating my son's birthday. And then as part of my live stream, we can talk about this. And also we'll be doing the 7K giveaway, that draw for 4 prints from GassyJackArt.com. So I hope you join me tonight. And I'll give one more shout out to my Hall of Fame members: Jens95, Sim Alexander, Justin Credible, Nucksfan number 29, Lucas Gates, Chris Seifert, Adam Broomfield, Shea Family Channel, Jamie Sports Talking More, Shannon Hollingworth, and Andrew Chang. Thanks for your support as always. And thanks to the support of all members of all levels. You are listed in my video descriptions. If you want to become a member of the CCC Crew, press the join button underneath this or any of my videos or on the memberships tab on my YouTube channel. If you're new, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button for Canucks Insight that's positive, timely, and trustworthy. Subscribe, like this video, leave a comment on this news. Jason Dickinson filing for salary arbitration. I'll see you tonight at 10:30 p.m. for my live stream. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. Have a great day. God bless, and go Canucks go.